Well, good afternoon or good evening. I think it's 25th of July 2024. And I'm sitting here at it's a short bus ride away from where I live. And I was going to go somewhere else, but it didn't work out that way. You know, other people change plans, things like that, so things go a little bit differently. And by the way, I'm having a beer. Yeah. The other place would have, the other thing that I was going to be doing also involved beer, but it was actually, I was going to go to the Oliveria brewery, and they have like a museum, and I believe you drink in the museum, you have a beer or something, but if not, there's a cafe kind of a little distance away. It's also Oliveria, but didn't make it that far. So, since I'm just sitting in one place and talking like this, I was going to just tell you a little bit about what's going on right now. We have, my wife and I were trying to get to Germany, and we're probably going to be going to Germany somewhere around the 11th of August, and just staying like for 4 days. Main reason is to pick up some of our cash that we have in the bank there, and you never know how this stuff is all going to work out. Actually, I'm from the United States, but I never renewed my passport for a long time, maybe over 20 years. So, and I got citizenship from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, which is a small island in the Caribbean, and it's part of the Schengen, so I can travel most anywhere, with that passport, luckily. And I've got other reasons why I never renewed my passport, my U.S. passport. Generally speaking, it's just the games, huge games the United States plays. They play with other countries, even their allies. They play with their own people. I just don't like that, Most countries don't do that, especially not, certain, the countries where I'm staying in right now. Somebody had a t-shirt on, this woman here that just walked by with a mountain on it. It says Montana, I guess, on there. Anyway, so we're trying to get to Germany, and it may not be difficult getting there and coming back, bringing just ourselves. There's certain things you have to try to avoid. There's different countries, even if they're all in the EU. There's like still somewhat, civilized countries such as Germany, and maybe even Lithuania to a large extent. Seem to be nice people and all that there. They got some crazy stuff. The government is a little bit crazy, and then you hear some sane things, even about Poland for the most part. But Poland is definitely a place we have to avoid. You can't come back through Poland. I've heard so many people talking about their experiences in Poland. Unless you're Polish or maybe French, maybe German, I don't know. You have to be of certain nationalities. I don't know what you call that. It's not racism, I don't know. I'll tell you some of the examples. Since I've had this blog on YouTube, somebody wrote me, and they were talking about people after this special military operation started, and like doctors or something, from India, and they're trying to maybe get away from any kind of possible problems, so they're trying to go into Poland. They really badly mistreated them. They physically beat them. I've heard of them beating so many people, a lot of time based on where you're from. If you're from Russia, Belarus, or whatever, you might get some really bad treatment. And just traveling through, going like into Belarus, they take everything. If you have any Coca-Cola, potato chips, they take it all from you. They take it from you. And some of these Baltic countries even, I think it maybe is Estonia. Maybe I think they take all your money when you're going into Russia. They leave you only 20 euros or something like that. So you have to follow and find out all these different rules of what you can and cannot do when you're going into Russia or Belarus. And as far as taking cash back, I believe it looks like Lithuania is still sane. But Poland, I don't even want to cross their borders, and it's very difficult to get to Belarus, going by land without going through Poland. Your only other opportunity is maybe to go through Ukraine, and what's the chance of that? I mean, even when you go into, say, for example, Latvia, I went through Latvia, and one of the things they asked me is, "Did you ever go to Ukraine?" And it's like, so that kind of tells me, well, don't even go into Ukraine. And maybe they're talking about East Ukraine being Ukraine. I have no idea. Trying to get, I don't know, find some information. They ask all kinds of crazy questions. Like, ask me about prices in Belarus. What do I think the price is? Why am I living in Belarus? Why am I living in Belarus? Things like that, It's incredible. I know other people, like, as you know, Dave from our other site, which is From the Other Side, BY, on YouTube. From the Other Side, BY, but it's actually, we call it From the Other Side. We had to put the BY, maybe because the name already was taken, I'm not sure. Primarily, we actually stream on Rumble. But anyway, he's Australian, and he has no problems also yet, really, with Lithuania. And he says the people are at least somewhat nice there and all that. But so many people, different nationalities. I met a guy that noticed me in class, and he said, "Hey, do you have a YouTube vlog?" And yeah, I do, and all that. He said, "Oh, I saw you on YouTube," and blah. So anyway, he was telling me about when he was in Poland, and he said how very unfriendly to him they are, because he's from Turkey, and it's apparent that they have certain nationalities they don't like. You don't want to call it racism, but they're like, I don't know. Maybe if your skin is dark, maybe if I'm from the U.S., if I had a U.S. passport, maybe they look and say, okay, you're okay. And then there was somebody that was actually Russian, had a Russian passport, and they wouldn't even speak to her until her husband came up, who was French, and started speaking, I don't know, in French or English or whatever. Then they were talking to her, but otherwise they just gave her a dirty look, didn't want to do anything for her. You hear about people getting beat, and I don't even want to talk about reports of what's happened to many migrants. You don't know if there's any truth in it or not, but there's supposed to be a lot of mass graves of migrants in Poland, and there's even demonstrations of what they're doing to people. It's a lot of brutality in the world anyway. I'm so glad to be in Belarus. And even when you hear about what happened here, like in 2020, and it was so bad, the police were doing this. And I just saw even today a video in the UK, maybe the rest of you saw that too, about them, and there was some people with some of Middle Eastern origin or whatever, and they was looks like at an airport in the UK, and these people were subdued. They were complying, and the police just come and kick them in the face. They're on the ground, and they kick them hard as they can in the face and start stomping on their heads and things like that. And they all had tasers, and they were all armed with tasers pointing, and I think this person was tasered, and they were just beaten. And then this other guy was sitting on a bench, his hands behind his head, his fingers interlocked, and they made him kneel on the floor. They pushed him down, and they started beating him on the face with a flashlight, started hitting him in the face with a flashlight. Things like that. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe it was something in their hand, they were beating him with it. It looked like a flashlight, I don't know. But anyhow, I'm not. I was going to tell you about probably the difficulties that we're foreseeing coming over here, back from Germany mostly. I mean, even maybe going there, maybe they'll deny me. I have a Vincentian passport from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So let's see what happens on that one. And then you find conflicting information on the internet saying, even if you're in the Schengen, you have to apply to some axiom or some sort of a deal. And then you find another one that said it's not going to come into effect until 2025. But they said it was in effect for 2022, and I'm just guessing they just didn't update it, and it never came into effect in 2022, because the other site said 2025, late 2025, and that it might even come into effect months after that, 6 months, where it basically just says you have to register or something from Schengen. I really don't know. You just don't know what to expect. It's just about like COVID times, traveling, and do you have to do this and that? All everybody knew is you had to continually get these PCR tests. that even the guy that invented it said it was worthless anyway. But I guess I'm not supposed to say that. Oh no, I shouldn't show you this woman coming by here with a nice dress on. Maybe you'll see from behind anyway. She's looking at me, with talking to a camera. So anyway. Anyway, girl watching here, I guess. Having a beer. I'm gonna have 2 beers, by the way. I don't know if I'll be doing this video on the second beer. I'd have to shut this off because I'm halfway done with this one. How did I get halfway through? Talking crazy stuff here. Might be the beer talking. Did you say something? No, beer's not talking. I'm not wasted or nothing like that. Just trying to make some funny jokes. Funny guy as I am. Now here comes a woman with her child and says Brooklyn on her t-shirt. Isn't that amazing? That's 2 girls, I guess. Anyway, you guys only get to see them from behind or something. It makes you amazed, you see t-shirts and they say all these, look at like this guy just walked by. It's an Adidas t-shirt or something, I guess. I think it's 3 stripes. I have no idea. Everything's Nike and Adidas, and you're not even getting paid for advertising for all these companies. As a matter of fact, you got to pay a lot of money because it says those names on it. Now that doesn't make any sense, does it? People are watching me right now speaking English. They're staring at me. Maybe they know English too. Some girls over there. You know how it is. Like, people are always amazed. That's something unusual you don't see. If I was talking to a cell phone, actually when I got this Pocket 2 camera, I got this thinking that it's inconspicuous because I didn't want to be seen talking to a cell phone or something. And now it's the other way around. I guess you're a lot better off talking to a cell phone, then nobody pays any attention to you. I just didn't want a bunch of people staring at me, it makes you feel uncomfortable. But if you don't sit through that, you're not going to be making any videos, obviously, huh? I don't know. So, luckily they're waiting for some guy, so they're going now. So I'll even show you from behind who they were watching me. Probably still turn around and look. Well, I guess not. Anyway, no big deal. It makes you wonder sometimes. You come to these places, the beer's not really cheap, it's not expensive here. It's kind of, which is actually not so bad. It's like $4.50. I'm noticing now beer prices, much different from last year. Or was it the year before? Like when I first came here in 2021, seems like beer was a lot cheaper. As a matter of fact, when we moved into our apartment, there was a place practically next door, and it was like a garden, trees around it. It was a beer tent, and the beer from draft beer was 2 rubles for a half a liter. This I paid $4.50, and that's actually a decent price. Maybe you can find some places where it's $3.50, but you can never find a place where it's 2 anymore. So we have prices going up here. Some prices, they're about the same, just some, and I can't even answer why. Most all this stuff here, as far as I know, except for the hops, is probably coming from Belarus. The hops, obviously. Normally there is like Hollandauer hops. A lot of German beer is made from Hollandauer, and then there's hops from Washington State, which supplies the world's, 25% of the world's hops, and that they call that Cascade hops. And I think there might be another kind, and obviously there's got to be other people growing hops in other places and maybe making their own beer. But I'm not up on that kind of stuff anymore. I only told you what I remembered because I brewed beer for a while. As a matter of fact, I even worked at Beck's Brewery for a little while. I'll tell you, if you watch my vlog, I like beer, so I'm not into the heavy stuff like vodka and even rum. I was in the Caribbean, even though I did have some of that rum. It's, what is it, like 90% alcohol? Incredibly high. And I've had a little bit, and it doesn't even taste that bad, to be honest with you. But I'm not into that stuff anyway. Just like beer. I used to like wine maybe in the winter time, but I've kind of grown out of it. I was in the Caribbean for all those years, and the hot weather, I just didn't really so much like to drink wine. Oh. But anyway, a little bit more about coming back here. So you can take apparently up to $10,000 worth of currency coming over these borders, at least the Lithuanian border, for sure. Probably not Poland. They'll steal it from you in Poland. I'm almost positive. They'll take all your money. You got to avoid Poland like the plague. I don't even want to pass through their territory to go into Lithuania to cross the border into Belarus. I didn't even want to do that. So it's like, well, how are we going to do that? We just want to avoid it like the plague. From all the horror stories you hear from so many people of going through Poland, how they hate foreigners, even a lot of them. I'm not saying all the Polish people, I'm saying maybe the authorities. It's just a place you really want to avoid like the plague, you know. And I don't really know what the heck is going on, you know. And here they have the problem with the Nazis, you know, and they're having even a little problem right now with Ukraine. You know, they have these on one side good relations and one side bad relations, and it's partly because of the past. And the Ukrainians, you know, think that it's a very great thing when they were massacring. Bandera was massacring all different kinds of people. You know, they massacred literally millions of Belarusians. Millions of Belarusians. I mean, and the truth is actually just slowly coming out a little bit more of the real truth, you know, even though the massacres were bad back then, but the real numbers maybe are starting to come out. They wiped out 200 villages, killed everybody, and it was normally a lot of times the control of the Germans, but with the hands mostly of the Ukrainians, mostly. But of course some of them were from some of these Baltic countries as well, and believe it or not, Finland was Nazi as well. A lot of these places were Nazi. You never even really hear about that, you know, if you're learning history in the United States. Hey, I was a history major. I studied mostly German history, and unfortunately, you know, all of this stuff has changed, and it was changed. Even if you go back to the 1980s, we did not get the true history, you know, and I think it's a lot more true over here. And I think Russia has, for the most part, you know, maybe there's some bad things too, but for the most part, they were treading on eggshells and trying to always do the right thing, you know. It starts to really make you wonder how and in which ways we were indoctrinated in the West when you start hearing about true history. Oh, here comes a Belarusian soldier, look. And there he goes from behind me. Anyway, so speaking of military times, but how come I keep getting sidetracked? You know, I guess that's the whole point of my videos all the time. I get sidetracked and start talking about other information, you know, yapping my jaws, like, blah, 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 you know, going into history things and who knows what all. But like I said, you know, crossing the border, you can take undeclared up to the value of whatever is $10,000. I think in most any currency. Yes, you can take it in euros. Some people believe you can't take euros. It's illegal to take euros into Belarus. You never know. A lot of this stuff can change at any time. They just changed the law a few days ago, maybe it was last week, that you cannot drive across the border with you know, a car with license plates that are Belarusian. So you have to get plates from Great Britain. You know, it can't be probably Russian either, I mean, obviously. So it has to be EU. Otherwise, you better take a bus or something. I don't really know. That's just one thing. But anyway, the money-wise, you can supposedly take more. And I'm getting the impression that they're not going to seize it and steal your money, even if it's over 10,000. What the value of 10,000 US dollars is. But you have to declare it. It's a lot of paperwork, a huge amount of paperwork. And one of the things, you have to have proof of where the money comes from, you know, also. And apparently, when we take it out of our bank account, apparently that's going to be good enough, because it's like you save money for, what do you think, 20 years? And then you're supposed to say where the money came from? I mean, and then think about it, you know. I mean, yeah, we have to show a bank statement, but you know, if they're trying to stop terrorism, then why doesn't the terrorist, you know, just over the course of maybe 5 months, you know, put a whole bunch of money in the bank and then withdraw it all at one time, and then they have a bank statement that says they withdrew it out of the bank? I mean, if that's the whole idea of it, and in the meantime they're planning an attack, I mean, you could do that. So I don't understand the point of all of this stuff, you know. So, you know, I mean, sometimes these terrorist attacks apparently would maybe take a year, you know, because the CIA, you know, they really do planning when they do these terrorist attacks to set up dupes and things like that. And if you're following what's going on in that Trump attempted assassination, you'll find out that there's a lot of things that are very strange. Like this guy that was supposed to have shot Trump, there's no shell casings. So what did he do? Did he shoot, you know, air wads at him? Not bullets? I don't know. He did a lot of crazy stuff. So anyway, let's not get into that. So anyway, I'm going to try to take more than 10,000 worth of US. Try to do all the paperwork properly. Don't have to fill out this Axiom form, even if we're from a Schengen country, because apparently we have travel up to 2025, you know, and a lot of things have to be finished by then. And as you know, the whole idea is that the US, with their puppets, which is called the European Union, one of them, the main one, a main one with a lot of countries, and the puppet leaders of a lot of these countries, is the whole thing is to collapse Russia. And to collapse Russia, you know, Belarus is a good friend. They want to get a hold of Belarus, put military bases. The whole thing is to neutralize Russia, get in, take the resources, you know, and basically wipe it out, split it up into 30 different countries, you know, lots of different things like that. But we won't talk this politics stuff so much. I'm just trying to tell you, there's other ways maybe to get your money here. There's through cryptocurrencies, and there's probably some other ways. You got to be a little bit inventive or think about things. I know of somebody now that they're trying to get a bank account in some other foreign country that is accepted by the West, and they're going to put their money in that one, and then that one is also, they can send it from that country to Belarus. So you have to be willing to travel and to make some kind of different arrangements like that. So that should be about all I should talk about today. You know, I flap my jaws a lot. Maybe it's not going to be a good video. Oh, what am I going to call this video? I don't know. Okay. So that's all for right now. And thanks for joining me, and I hope you'll continue watching my other videos. I hope this wasn't too boring for you. At least you can see once in a while some pretty girls. So, and maybe a soldier or two, and the beer talking. Here's a girl for some of you guys over there. Yeah. Okay, that's it for now. Bye bye.